Um, Today, we're going to start the session with a conversation with Amir Kabir, founding partner at Overlook Ventures. Amir, welcome to the show.
Thank you so much for having me today. Appreciate the invite.
So, Amir, since this is the first time we are meeting, let's
Sure,
start with a bit of an overview of Overlook Ventures as well as your background. We get to know each other a bit.
that would be great. Yeah, happy to do so. So where do we start? Maybe from the beginning. I think that's probably the most interesting part. I'm originally from Iran, but my parents immigrated to Germany when I was a kid.
Uh-huh.
So I grew up in Germany for most of my life. And since I can remember, I love to build things. So I built my own computer when I was a teenager, and that kind of translated into the love for building businesses. And I started businesses, one in e-commerce to begin with, and then I was part of a software startup very early on, where we built business communication management software. That was back in the day still on premise. We didn't know what cloud and SaaS is. It was like 2007, 8, 9, where Oracle and Siebel were very famous. And so we built that company, and that company was eventually acquired by Actuate here in San Mateo, which is now part of OpenText.
Yeah.
And I basically, 12 years ago, immigrated to the US independent from the acquisition, to kind of start a new life here and figure out if first of all the American dream is true, and second, what the tech ecosystem looks like, and so on and so forth. So I landed in DC, and basically started my career on the venture side right off the bat. I was part or worked for a fund called Route 66 Ventures, which was very early on investing in the broader financial services ecosystem. I was part of the team there for quite some time, and then moved over to San Francisco 10 years ago, and I've been here since. It's my 10-year anniversary. I just posted it on LinkedIn, which is crazy to believe. Time is flying by so fast these days. And for the past 10 years, I was part of the team who built out a Munich Re's venture arm. I was number 3 on the team there when we started with $50 million. And when I left 6 years later, we had over $1 billion under management and invested in all sorts of companies within the broader financial services ecosystem. Then I was a GP at an early stage fund, AV8, where I helped build out the practice there, always with an eye to, start my own fund, and resigned last year, and have embarked on this journey to start my own fund, which is Overlook Ventures, actively fundraising, but however, have already made several investments, and am lucky enough to have support from amazing founders and GPs from the ecosystem here in Silicon Valley. So that's a little bit about the background.
How
Very
big a fund is Overlook Ventures' first fund going to settle at?
Yes, the goal is to get up to $30 million. That's the goal. We have, committed quite amount some today, but actively fundraising as we speak.
Okay. And what is the investment thesis of Overlook
Sure,
Ventures?
sure. So I believe two things are true in this world, right? One is that technology is always evolving. Today it's AI. We're probably going to talk about that a little bit more. And tomorrow it's something else. And I think with that, or I believe with that, risk is always emerging and evolving as well, right? And I've spent the last 10 years investing within the broader risk or risk management space, understanding, financial services risk, insurance risk, and related risks. And I've spent the last 25 plus years, either building myself or partnering up with founders at the earliest stages, and helping them build their companies. I had 18 board seats or board observer seats over my career to date. And so Overlook Ventures' thesis is to invest at the intersection of risk, data, and tech, which on the one hand is looking at companies that are developing new risk products, which could be in insurance or financial services, or even a newer like Web3 product, right?
Mhm.
And on the other hand, looking at companies that have some sort of an interesting data or infrastructure mode, they can help you better manage or measure risk.
Mhm.
As examples I give there, you know, one of the latest investments I made is in a company that has developed a machine learning model to detect deep fakes within voice. And the way I think about the world is that, you know, what does the future look like, and what kind of risks are going to emerge there, and how can technology help today to learn about that risk? And so I believe, for example, voice is going to be a dominant medium in the future. We will use our voice much more than we do today, right? Starting
Mhm.
from authentication to, you know, not only communicating with humans, but communicating with machines and so on and so
Mhm.
forth. So the risk there, you know, is imminent, and how can startups, you know, solve that problem today, or how can we invest in that? That's an example. And on the other hand, you know, looking at traditional risk products as an insurance product, I invested in a company that has developed a full stack, you know, insurance carrier in Mexico with the first digital native auto insurance product. And I believe that the market there is very ripe and interesting right now to serve the population with new digital products when it comes down to insurance and financial services. So that gives you kind of a sense of what I'm
Sense,
looking
yeah.
for and what I'm interested in.
Amir, what about stage?
Yeah,
What are
yeah.
you thinking about?
Most I basically Overlook basically invest, or me personally, at any seed stage, right? Pre-seed to seed or seed plus. I basically call it ahead of product market fit, right? So really interested in founders first and foremost, and then also in what they're building and what products they're building and what solutions they have. So I think throughout my career, a lot of founders always ask, what is your revenue threshold? I don't have a revenue threshold. I don't believe that revenue is an indicator of success at the earliest stages.
So you fund concepts?
I fund concepts as well, but you know, it has to be a very, very thoughtful team. The three things that I'm kind of looking for when I evaluate a startup, amongst others, is first and foremost the team. Who are you? Why do you wake up every morning to solve this problem? And I when I look at, you know, the investments I've made and the investments that I'm looking at right now, every founder basically is solving a problem that they have experienced somehow, right? And with that, they have some sort of a unique insights that they bring to the table that not everybody can have, right? And I think these are the three things. And on top of that, from the founding team perspective, I'm really interested in technical teams. At least one of the co-founders, if it's one founder, he or she himself has to be kind of technical enough to build a product. So these are the things I'm looking for. So yeah, it could be a concept stage.
So, you know, the domain that you want to invest in, or you are investing in, risk, data-driven risk products and so forth, requires people who are working in some uh, domain-specific use cases around all that. Otherwise, you don't really have insights into the problems to solve, right?
Correct. That's
Kind
right.
of need to be inside an insurance company or some other place where financial services company where that risk is in action and problems are visible so that people are solving those problems. So are we saying that your target audience of founders are slightly older founders who have experience?
Actually, no, like most of the founders are young. So maybe to clarify there, um, I'm not only interested in companies within the insurance or financial services world. As I mentioned, you know, the last company that is developing the model to detect deep fakes in voice has not so much to do anything with financial services or insurance, right? It's mostly a deep technical team that has developed similar models before, has worked on this has worked on this problem before, right? However, the customers of that startup could be financial services companies, as they, have call centers that they could use that product for, right? Um, so when it comes down, the way I think about, and that's a good question. When it comes down to regulated markets, right? I think you know, interest is not enough, because there's so many other things that are important that you have to understand within that regulated
You need
market.
real domain knowledge to be able to
Correct,
understand what to build. I mean,
correct,
the
correct. Yeah,
deepfake example is almost an outlier, but there is a lot of opportunity for doing agentic stuff and and analytic stuff, machine learning stuff within the risk domain in financial services, in health, in insurance,
correct.
all of these. But to know those, you have to be in those workflows.
Correct. So it doesn't mean you have to be older in terms of, a
You
founding or
have to be
founding.
experienced, older or
Correct.
not. I mean, I'm not talking about ancient. I'm talking about people with some years of experience working inside companies.
100%, because, I think that's in general, when you think about companies, obviously there's outliers. I think most of them happen on the consumer side, because it's a much different, founding experience on the consumer side than it is on the enterprise side, right? When you think about the Instagrams and the Facebooks and the
Right.
Snapchats, I don't think you need experience to do that.
No.
It's more an understanding of the consumer and
Yeah.
maybe of concepts. But on the on the enterprise side, I believe, like, if you want to build a sustainable product, you need to somehow understand, how these enterprises work. What are the barriers to entry? What is working, what is not? And specifically in regulated markets, tech enough will not help you succeed, right? And so these are the things that I'm looking for.
Mm. And when you say you are looking for primarily technical founders, or
Mhm.
at least one of the co-founders being technical,
Correct.
what is your experience of finding technical people who are inside of um, companies with visibility into the problems, being able to pick up what to build? Or is it necessarily a business person who identifies the problem and brings a technology
No,
person along?
no, no, no. I mean, when you think about, good examples here, and looking at the founders I have to date, some of them, for example, have worked at newer companies, right? Think about, someone who has worked for on the product side for Chime, which just recently went public, right? It's not very old company. They might have seen something within their world that, you know, uh, could have been done better, can be done better, and they basically decide to start a company, right? Um, other entrepreneurs might have spent time in other companies and have seen, problems, and that could be like earlier companies too. Like, could be someone that is leaving a Series C company and has seen, the industry a little bit, has seen, the products, and now wants to build by himself or by herself.
Mm. I'm probing this a little bit because this is a conversation that is actually happening in digital water coolers right now, LinkedIn being the number one of those, is, as you pointed out, the Facebooks and the Snapchats and the Instagrams of the world have been built by very young founders. But
Yes.
when you look at building heavy duty enterprise systems, you need to understand what to build. And for that, you need to have seen those problems in action somewhere. So the, the,
100%.
the,
And specifically also selling into these enterprises, right? I mean, selling into a regulated enterprise market like banking, insurance, healthcare,
yeah,
whatever that might be, it's just such a different endeavor,
so
right?
different, yes.
And you, I always, when I meet founders that are so ambitious and like really want to build something and are so passionate about it, I'm like, hey man, like you need to really think about like how this going to play out, right? Because a lot of them don't really understand how these, bigger enterprises work.
What is your check size?
Yeah, so check size can be anywhere from like 100,000 K to up to $1 million. And trying to be very early. And I'm also writing agent checks if it has to be earlier than that. So very flexible there. Really trying to find, really amazing founders that are excited about the problem that they're solving, have some experience there, and really have a differentiated product or go-to-market strategy that can be compelling.
So you said you were looking for three things. Number one is the founder and really the founder
Sure.
problem fit kind of. What are the
100%.
what are the other two things that you're looking for?
Yeah, so the other two would be, which is related, is that you have spent time in that sector that you're trying to solve that problem in, right? Or the product that you're building. And with that, I think the third thing is like either comes you know deep market knowledge because you have spent time there, and or unique insights that not everybody can have, right?
Okay.
And so these are the things that are important to me.
So all of it is really the founder and domain knowledge, which makes
Correct.
complete sense because if you are going to focus on risk as your primary investment thesis and applications of AI and data and technology into the risk domain, risk is not a domain that people can work in without
Yes,
deep domain knowledge. It's just not
that's right.
doable.
That's right. That's right.
So, what about geography? You said you invested in Mexico. So, are you
Yeah.
looking at a global investment thesis?
Look, no, I think I would fool myself to say that I can look at everything in the world. However, I am mostly focused on the US or just on companies that are at least incorporated in the US from the investment perspective. And so this company within Mexico is a unique opportunity. They are operating in Mexico, however, and are incorporated in the US. And I believe there's a tremendous opportunity within Latin America when it comes down to risk and risk-related businesses, as there is a lot of, things happening within the broader market there in terms of shifting demographics and shifting buyer sentiment and so on and so forth, growing middle class, more appetite for digital products. And so I believe there's an opportunity to invest in the next decacorn within Latin America. So I'm very much interested to learn there and meet founders that are building within that geography. And so that's kind of the focus. I'm not. I think it's very, very hard to invest as a solo GP sitting in San Francisco in a company that is in India, that a company that is in Africa, as a company that is in Asia. As much as I think, there's very smart people out there building interesting and great stuff. It's
It's
just going to
not
be
easy
really
to invest in Latin America either, right? Finding
uh,
those entrepreneurs who in Latin America who have understanding of risk
correct.
in Latin
Correct.
America is not an easy task.
It is not. So I'm fortunate to, be connected and have a network within the Latin American region
Mhm.
where I basically get into these deals differently. So it's not that I travel there and like, spend a month there to figure out. It's more a founder base I have. It's more an investor base I have. And so it's a more collaborative approach there.
I see. Okay. All right. And how are you looking at AI? What is your, analysis of AI? What are the assumptions? I mean, there is one set of believers in within AI who are betting on AGI becoming available relatively soon, and that soon, the definition of soon varies from people to people, and the impact of AGI on vertical AI in particular, which is what your investment thesis is. How are you thinking about these problems?
Yeah, look, I mean, as I mentioned, AI is now the newest hype cycle, and everybody's focused on it. And I believe, it's obviously a very big topic, and I think people compare that to, the start of the internet in general, and other kind of, bigger um, uh, milestones that we have when it comes down to technology. Um, I, I don't really focus so much on like, hey, are you an AI company first or vertical AI? I think when you look at any deck today, everybody's saying they have some sort of an AI. But
Yes.
if you dig a little bit deeper, you see that it's actually not really AI, right? So it's just, framed as an AI. Um, I believe like, when kind of this whole wave started, a lot of, you know, uh, investors were focused on, the large language models and the bigger platforms, right? And now everybody's focused on the application layer, which is similar what I do, and I look into that space as well. It has become very, very crowded. It has become very, very difficult to understand why AI for compliance for banking with company name X is different than AI for compliance for banking with company name Y, right? And so that's what I mentioned also in the beginning, that technology is not going to be really the winner, I feel here, because AI is becoming ubiquitous, right? And the winners will be those that have some sort of an proprietary go-to-market strategy and can
Proprietary
build
domain knowledge.
proprietary domain knowledge too,
I
which
think
basically
I
translates
think
into proprietary
proprietary
go-to.
domain knowledge is going to be the driving factor in the and you are focusing on something that is completely the underpinning of your investment thesis is proprietary domain knowledge. You cannot do
Correct.
this without proprietary domain knowledge.
Correct. And but that leads to proprietary go-to-market because you understand that market so well and you probably have the stakeholders and can get to them faster to sell, right?
Mhm.
Because
And you
it's
have the
interesting.
credibility to be taken seriously in customer
Correct.
conversations.
Correct. Because again, I've spent a lot of time with like larger insurance companies and financial services companies. And I've seen that, tech is good, but tech is not the winning argument, right? And there is other things that, have played a role. And I believe that's still going to be the case going forward as well.
Yeah.
Because again, it's going to be really, really hard to understand why your tech is better going forward because everything is just nuanced these days, I feel.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay, well, I think that's, we started by my asking you this question, what are young founders at a disadvantage? Unfortunately, inexperienced founders are at a bit of a disadvantage right now. So somebody asked me this question on LinkedIn this morning, or maybe I saw the question this morning, I hadn't answered it. It's like, what do you recommend for students who are trying to do you recommend that they jump in and start a company? Or and that was true when I was a young founder. I did jump in and started a company, and ironically I started an AI company, but that's not what I necessarily recommended to her. And I said, because you need to understand what to build, what to automate, what to apply AI to, you need to be in the throes of problem domains. So pick a problem domain that you want to develop expertise in and go, work in that domain so that you get some depth in understanding what problems to solve. Without that, differentiated advantage, it's not clear what are you going to build. And I see these student founders doing a lot of ed tech. That's something where they do have domain knowledge. They have just come through school, so they have some perspective on what they need. And ed tech is a domain where these kids generally have some understanding and value, but enterprise certainly not.
I hear you on that. Yes, I think I would say there's a caveat, right? If you're young, when I think about if I would be again 20, 21 years old, you can lose 2 years of your life and build something. I think you learn a lot. and you have not much to lose, right? So you might not be successful, but I think you have a lot of learnings. The question is, does it make more sense, as you said, to go and work for another company? And will you learn more there or not? I think you will. Just in general, also how to,
At the moment, I think this point in history is a
yes,
point where domain knowledge is incredibly valuable. Maybe this is going to change, AGI coming, AGI is going to change things around. At the moment, the emphasis is on vertical AI, it's on domain specific AI, and the opportunities are where require domain knowledge. So that's just currently that's the
correct,
situation. In the beginning
correct,
of the
correct,
internet, that was not necessarily the situation. E-commerce was new and anybody could do e-commerce. Nobody
correct.
knew anything about e-commerce.
It's actually a funny topic because my first company was an e-commerce company. I didn't also know what I was doing.
Yeah, and my third company was an e-commerce company. I didn't know what I was doing, but that didn't matter.
Exactly. It was easy to learn, but I think also there, going back to what I said before, because it was consumer focused, it was a different kind of, time and topic as well, right? And so it was easier to get by without knowing what e-commerce is.
Yeah. Okay, well, Amir, great to know you and look forward to continuing the conversation in due course. We're
Thanks,
going to,
Tamara.
are you staying for we're going to listen to an investor pitch? Would you like to stay or do you have another meeting?
I have another meeting that I have to go to, but I really
No problem.
appreciate you having me here and looking forward to staying in touch.
All right, take care. Thank you for
Thank you.
coming.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye bye.